Hello everyone, in this video I want to talk about this error when you install Dynamics Nav or Dynamics 365 Business Central. You will see this error when you try to install Dynamics Nav or Dynamics 365 Business Central on-premise with the authentication type NavUserPassword. So what you have to do, actually, when you do the installation, you have to install it as the Dynamics Nav Windows authentication. So if you look at the administration console, then you can see you have the credential type. So when you do the installation, you have to install it with the credential type Windows instead of NavUserPassword. And after you install that, then you can install the certificate, and then you can change that credential type to NavUserPassword. So that's the step you have to do. And Microsoft has a very detailed documentation on the steps how you can install the certificate, and it's very detailed walkthrough. If you follow this document, you should be able to do it. But for some people who are not that technical, even read this document may be difficult for them. So I will walk you through the steps how you can do this by yourself. Okay, so then just when you install it, make sure you install Dynamics Nav or Dynamics 365 Business Central on-premise with the credential tabs Windows. So then you will not see this error message, because this error message is complaining like the server components cannot be installed, and it give you a bunch of other reasons. If you look at those reasons, actually this may not be the real reason that it failed. The real reason is like could be like you are trying to install it directly with the credential type NavUserPassword instead of the Windows credential type. Okay. So if like in my scenario, I installed it with the credential type Windows, but I want to switch it to the NavUserPassword after that. If you just go to this service instance and then you try to edit it, and then you try to change it to NavUserPassword and click on save, and then you restart your Business Central instance, then you will see it also failed with an error message. So let's take a look what is the error message says if you do this on your service instance. So it tells you the server instance failed to reach the status running. So it cannot start the service. Additional information may be in the event log of the server. So the actual reason is like you does not have the certificate installed, so it does not trust this service to use the NavUserPassword authentication. So I have to change it back, so then I can start that service again. So let me change it back and start the service. You can see the service will be started successful. I change it back to the Windows credential tab again. Here you can see I change it back to the Windows credential tab again. Then I'm gonna restart my Business Central service instance. So if I restart, then you can see it will go into the running status. Okay, so then let's follow the Microsoft document so we can install the certificate. The first step you have to do, you need to get, if you look at that document, so actually you need to get this make cert. So you can install the Microsoft Visual Studio or the Windows SDK to get it. Actually, I already got it. Okay, so then I save that executable to, let me see if I save it to like one of the folders. So let's say I saved it into, right now it's in the pictures folder. So I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna create a local folder for me to save the certificate. It will create later. So the reason for the certificate is to create, we need this certificate to create a trust for Nav instance to connect with the Nav user. So I'm just want to make this folder name to be short. Let's just call it cert. And okay, just call it cert. We know this cert folder is for me to save my certificate. I'm gonna copy that executable for make cert to that folder as well. and then we can use that folder we created to execute some command which in that walkthrough document. Okay, so what I'm gonna do right now, I need to go to the Microsoft Management Console. So mmc.exe, you go to this console, and basically what it tells you to install the certificate, then you have to launch this console, and from this console you have to go to add remove snap-in, and then you have to go to certificate and add a certificate, and this has to apply to the computer, and then click on finish and click on OK. So you see this node for the certificate shows up, and under it, under the trusted root certification authority, you could see there's a certificate folder, and then also you have a personal folder created under that. So let's take a look. So we don't have a NAV certificate created yet. So you could see according to alphabetical order, I don't have a NAV certificate created yet. And I will execute some command. So those commands are listed. So here, this step, create a root CA and private key by using this. So the command we need to run is this command, okay? So what I'm gonna do, and I need to open the command line with the administrator, run as an administrator. Then you can just copy that command, copy this command, and then you go back to your command prompt, which opened as an administrator, then you copy this. Then, so it's not, the reason it's not recognized because right now you see my folder path, I'm still under the Windows System 32, while the folder I created, I copied this executable is C drive cert. So I have to enter that path in order to run this command, cd, and then copy whatever I copy from there. So now I should be able to recall my command and run it. So now it asks you to give it a password. So you can give it a password. So confirm your password. You have to remember this password, so you can take a note for a password when you created this. So later you may need this password again. So here, subject key, you have to enter the same password you just entered. Okay? And you see it's done. So after this step is done, now if you go back to this and refresh, then you will see something because that command, let me see. Okay. So that command is basically to tell you like we need to create a root CA and private key file by using the so in this step actually it does not, it just provide just to create a private key. So we finish this step, and then you need this password. So this certificate file and this private key are saved in your temporary folder. So after this step is done, and remember we created this temporary folder, right? So it just created these two files, which is identical with is mentioned here. It created these two files, but nothing created in your in this console yet. Microsoft Management Console, nothing created in this console yet. It just generate, when you run that command, it just generate these two files under this temporary folder, cert folder I created. Okay, so next step. So let's go to the next step to use this certificate snap-in to install this root CA on the computer running this. So we already done these steps because I went to MCC and select the local computer, added the steps in. That step is done. And then we saw the trusted root certification. Then we can see we have to do the import. So we are already there. We already created this, but we need to import the certificate. But what certificate you need to import? That's the thing, okay? So in the certificate import, then you browse to file to import, and then you go to the certificate store, then you choose, this is the, so then we have to finish this file to import. We have to select that cert certificate file, because this is the file we created under that temp folder, right? With the .cer extension. So now we go here, then we have to right click down this certificate, and then we have to choose all task import, and then we have to select local computer, then we have to browse to that temp folder for the cert, and then import that file. So that's what we are gonna do for this step. Okay, and select next, and we select this certificate store, it's this store, and click on finish. Okay, so now it's the time you will see there's a new certificate listed here, which is called Root Nav Service CA. That's the certificate we just imported. This is the same certificate, right? This is the extension .cer. That's what we just imported. So we completed this step, right? And then to create a certificate revocation list. So right now, until this step, here, we do not see a revocation list yet. So we have to create a revocation list for it. Okay, so how can we create a revocation list? Is we don't need to do anything. We just copy this and go back to our command line and run this command. And then enter remember the password we just entered previously, and it says succeeded. So now if we go back to the snap-in, then refresh, so you should see a revocation list. Okay, let's refresh. Let's go back, refresh. So we should see a revocation list. Let's go back to our instruction here. To install the certification revocation list on the, so this step actually is not. The revocation actually is generating another file, CRL, but we still have to import the revocation list. Okay, so actually it's generating another file. So the previous step, we generated this file and then we imported CER, this extension. So then we get a certificate imported. For the revocation list, that copy command, the command we copied executed, is just to generate this file in this temp folder. And then we have to import this revocation list to our snap-in. So what we have to do, we go back, then we have to import again. And then we have to select. Okay, so I don't think I'm in the right, let me see. So we have to go to Trusted Authority and click on Certificates and All Task Import. And then we have to click on File to import, but this time we have to select CLR to import. Okay, so that's good. So let's go back to here. Actually, I'm in the right place, and just this step, we have, let me select all files so we can see this file here. Then we can go to next and click on next finish. So then we can refresh. Now we see the certificate revocation list here. Okay, this is for this root nav service CA certificate. Okay, so this step is done. And then after this is done, then we have to create and install a test certificate for this computer. We just copy it. And then what we have to do, we have to execute that into our command. So enter our password again. Okay, it's executed successfully. So we already executed. When you enter password, select the node and refresh the snap-in. You now have the certificate file in your temporary folder. So the certificate is installed under personal node. So it tells me after we executed that command, we are getting the certificate. So now you can see this nav service cert.cer is our certificate, right, for our computer. And at the same time, if we go back to this node and refresh, then into the certificates, this is the personal certificates, we can see this nav service cert is here, okay? And then that step is done. We can see it in the personal node. And to grant access to the certificate's private key to the service account. So this is our key step because we are not able to start the nav service successfully because when our credential tab is Windows, when we switch it to the NavUserPassword, there's no trust relationship established. It has to be established through the certificate. And then the certificate, we have to grant the access to the certificate's private key to the service account for our Dynamics Nav service. Okay, so currently this Nav service is running under a network service account. So, but we need to grant that service account, network service account, the we need to grant the certificate's private key to that next service account used by Dynamics Nav server. Okay, so what we have to do right now, then we have to go to the all task, and then we have to manage a private key. So what it tells you is like you go here, you right click, and you go to all. So this is under the personal mode. This is under the personal node. So you go to the personal node under this console and go to certificate and go to all tasks, and then go to now go to import. So sorry, you go to the right hand side pane, and then you go to all tasks, and then you could see manage private keys. This is how you grant the access to that service. Okay, but how do you do it? How do you grant access to that service? Because we need to grant the access to the network service, right? So what have to do? We have to, if you don't see the network service here, then you have to add that user. So just search network service and check name. So we saw this. Then we have to grant the service the permissions. Okay. So what permissions do we need to give it to it? We have to give it the permission of the full control. It's already have the full control. Then we click on apply and click on OK. So that's this step. And what we can do another thing. So in this dialog box, then we have to. So if we double click on this, then we will see there's certificates here that you can see it's valid from today's date until December 31st, 2039, right? And then if we click on the details tab, then we can see the thumbprint. There's a thumbprint field. So the thumbprint field, okay? So what we have to do, we have to copy this thumbprint, and we have to use it to replace what we have under the service. Let's put it in the notepad so we can paste it later to our service. Okay, and so the next step is we have to modify the configuration file on the Nav server. Since I installed the Nav server, the Business Central server instance, and also the client, the Windows client on my, because I'm still using Business Central version 14.02, so I still have the Windows client because I have both installed on my computer and then on the same computer. And first I will modify the service configuration file. What we have to do, we have to modify the credential tab, and then we have to paste the certificate thumbprint. We copy it from the certificate to here. Okay, let's do that. I'm going to open my service tier and then edit my service. So I have to change this to the NavUserPassword. And you see the certificate thumbprint is here. Then previously we already copied that thumbprint from the certificate. Let's just paste it here. And then we can click on save. And after that, then we can restart the service. Okay. So that's stop and start the service. Okay, so now you could see, because we granted the permissions for the certificate to the service account used by the Nav service, the network service account. So now it's in the running status. So for me to be able to open my Windows client with the NavUserPassword, then I have to change the client configuration file as well. So where do I need to go? I have to go to the roaming profile, then go to the Microsoft Dynamics Nav, and then I have to open this. So let me open that with the notepad. Okay, so I don't want to open it with PDF. And let me open it with the Notepad++. And then, so from here, this already changed to the NavUserPassword. And then if you look at the file, if you look at the walkthrough here, it tells you then you also need to change this DNS identity to the nav service cert. This is certificate we installed, the certificate name we installed. So because our client service credential type on my computer already changed to NavUserPassword, what I need to do, I only need to change this value. Right now it's blank. I'm gonna just add it. So here, this is correct. Okay, so that's good. Did I install the certificate on this computer? I already installed, so I should have no problem. But if you are using another computer, you are not using the nav server and client on the same computer, then you have to install the certificate. What you can do is like, because you have the certificate saved in that file, so we have this, then you can just right click and select install certificate on your computer, and then you can select the local computer and then click on yes, and then select place all certificates in the following store. Then you can select trusted people. Okay, so this is not in that Microsoft document, but you can do this in order to import the certificate to your computer if you are using another computer as the client. Okay, so open your nav again, then it pop up the username and password to ask you to enter the nav username and the password. I really forgot what nav user password I created previously. I'm just gonna try to see if I still remember the password correctly. So it's incorrect. I'm still guessing my password. Let's see if this password is correct. Oh, okay, so it seems like I'm able to log in. So I did create a nav user and password previously in the users, but I kind of forgot what's the password I created. So, but if I just log in, with the nav user name password, if you go to the users, then you can see I have the 2 Windows users here, and I have one. This one is the nav user password. So because you can see this is the nav username and this is the password. For the other 2, those are the Windows, right? So the Windows username, and then the other one is the Windows. Okay, so this is the whole process how you can change the credential type for the service from the Windows to NavUserPassword, and you are able to use the Windows client, or you can use the web client to log in. Because I'm still having the Windows client on my Business Central version 14.2, so I can use it. Otherwise, then you can follow the link. So if you are using the web client, then if you still follow this link, you can see there's an instruction for how you can. There's an instruction for you can do it for the web client. So I'm using the Windows client, so I just need to change the configuration file for the client service credential type and the DNS identity from the roaming profile. But if you are using the web client, then you can go to the edit pub www Dynamics Nav this folder and change the Dynamics Nav settings from there. You also need to change these 2 parameters. Okay, so that's everything for this video. Hope that helps. Thank you so much for watching this YouTube video. I hope to see you guys again next time.